So, after 3 hours of continual work on learning to thread the Juki 22 Mini, I think I have it down. So hopefully I can teach you to do that in less than 5 minutes by sharing with you what I've learned. So the first thing that I determined by looking at other videos was that I needed to remove this thread guide itself to make sure that my little wire was indeed coming through the eye of the needle. So in order to do that, I used a flathead screwdriver, placing it on top of the white part of the thread guide, bringing it down, and then tapping the back of the screwdriver gently till it popped off. Once I had it off, I was able to look inside of the thread guide, and I even used a magnifying glass to see what that little hook actually looked like. I was able to determine that mine was not in the correct position. The correct position for that is almost exactly dead center in the middle of those two forks. So I used my handy dandy seam ripper and moved that wire into the center of the thread guide. So one thing that's interesting with this thread guide is that if you look at the side of it, you'll see where the thread goes up, there's almost a little notch down at the bottom here. So your thread's going to go up the guide and then into that little tiny notch, which is going to guarantee that your thread gets underneath that hook. So let's put this back on. So the two little eyes are going to face outward. Just push it back on. So it's needle up for the threading. Presser foot down. You're going to hold this back thread taut. Get it through your thread guides. You can determine if your hook's coming through the needle by looking to the left of your machine. I can clearly see my hook now, and I can see that it's through that, through the eye of the needle. So what has to happen with this thread is it needs to go up that guide and down just a little bit to pop underneath that hook. How I determine that that's happening is I can pull my thread here a little bit to the left, and I know that it's hooked under there. Once it's hooked under there, all it is simply, I can even let go of my thread and it'll pull it right through and thread the machine. What I was doing before was simply sliding my thread up this guide, and of course I was not underneath that hook. So now, knowing I need to be under that hook, it's a simple matter of getting it under. One thing that was interesting to me was if you get your thread underneath that little hook and you let go very, very gently. Well, I'm threading now. Let me see if I can show you that. So if I get it under there and I let go very gently, it'll hang up and just set there. And I'm like, okay, so what's wrong with this? Why is it hanging up? It's not threading the machine. It's actually this action that puts enough pressure on it when it goes upward to pop it through there. So if it is hanging up like that, it's a good sign that you're under the hook. So I'm hoping that helps somebody not be so frustrated with the thread guide. It does work wonderfully once you figure out how to use it.